Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start by thanking everyone for tuning in this evening. I know you're all busy people with lots of other things to do, and I appreciate you taking time to watch this session, as we all do. We run the Q&As because we want to give you the answers straight from the experts, and we will continue to host these discussions as long as they're useful. I also want to thank our panel this evening, who have very kindly given their time and expertise to help with the questions. Winter is often a difficult time for many. The cost of increased bills combined with the festive season puts many people's budgets under strain. As we approach the end of Challenge Poverty Talk Money Month, we want to do just that, talk about money to help make it less scary, less confusing and more normal. This year, with the end of the furlough scheme and the £20 universal credit uplift going, even more people are likely to find themselves experiencing financial issues. I want to reassure everyone watching that if you need it, there is help available. If you can take away one bit of advice from this evening, please let it be not to suffer in silence. It can feel incredibly daunting, but there is lots of advice and support available to manage challenges like this. I know the topics we're going to cover will be very personal to many of you, and I want to remind you that if you want to submit your question anonymously, you can still email them to yourquestions@york.gov.uk. As always, our communications team will be monitoring the comments and will be sharing the links and guides our panel papers mention. We would encourage everyone with questions to ask them through the comments section. There are no questions that we think are silly, and if you're wondering something, the chances are good that the answer will be useful to other people too. For those not familiar with the format of these Q&As, first our panel will introduce themselves and explain a bit about their area of expertise. We will then be discussing some of the common questions that people might have, and we'll be answering the questions submitted live. I shall pass over to our panel of experts to let them introduce themselves in a moment, but first I must introduce myself. I'm Councillor Carol Runciman. I'm the Executive Member for Adult Social Care and Health, and I'm also the Chair of the City's Health and Wellbeing Board. If I can go around now, Fiona, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Fiona McCulloch. I'm here in my capacity as Senior Executive Officer of York Citizens Advice.
Ivana?
Hello, I'm Ivana Jakubkova, and I'm a project coordinator for York Energy Advice, which is a joint partnership project between St. Nick's Charity and York Community Energy.
Pauline?
Hello everyone, I'm Director of Customer and Communities at City of York Council, and part of my responsibility is for community-based support and also welfare benefit support in the council.
And Kath?
Good evening, my name's Kath Williams. I'm the Liaise Manager with the England Illegal Money Lending Team, prosecuting loan sharks all across the country.
Thanks very much, all of you. So, we're going to start off with, have I left somebody out? Oh,
you
Denise,
left me out, Carol.
Oh, sorry. How can
no
I
worries.
do that?
I'm not sure how.
Shows it's live.
I'm not sure I'm as expert as some of the others, but I'm the Councillor Denise Craghill, and I'm Executive Member for Housing and Safer Communities. But I also have financial inclusion in my portfolio, which means I do work with a lot of the groups that help people with advice and approve financial hardship support through the council as well.
Thank you, Denise. No, I'm very sorry I left you
out. All right.
Right, first question for Pauline, and Fiona may wish to comment afterwards. What did the government spending review mean for us here in the city? Pauline, what do you think?
Well, last week, as you say, the funding review was held and the government announced its spending plans for local government, but we are still waiting for full details as to what it all means. There was some additional funding for some areas, but we're particularly concerned about funding for social care. We did ask for long-term certainty for local government, but we are waiting to hear details of increases to social care funding. And with COVID cases rising and winter pressures already being felt acutely in the sector, it's made worse by staffing shortages, and market instability. And we need the government to share its plans for the social care sector now and not later. So given all of this, it's really important that people check that they're getting all the help that is available, either through our local COVID support funds, ongoing benefits, whether they're national benefits or council tax support. We've got an easy to use online calculator on our website that people can use to check. And you can choose one of the independent benefit calculations to find out if you're missing out on any support and how to claim. And you can go to any of our Advice York partners across the city to seek support. And if you want to find out who they are, you can have a look on the Live Well York website, and we'll put links to those websites in the chat screen.
Fiona, can I bring Fiona in now to just say, are you expecting increased demand on your services, having listened to what Pauline said?
Yes, we're experiencing that already at the moment, but we are still seeing as many clients as we possibly can. The most questions we've got re this is the sudden cut to the universal credit uplift. Yeah. And we have a lot of people coming to us so we can recalculate what we think they should be getting now, and any advice we can give them to maximise their income and give them top-ups towards that, well, making up the shortfall for them, really.
Yeah, that's good. So if I go to Councillor Craghill now, having missed her out before, can the council help people where ends don't meet?
Yes, I think people certainly should come to the council. Obviously, it is a very worrying time, and I think one of the things to emphasise, as I think you said at the beginning, Carol, is do ask, do get in touch, do contact somebody. And certainly if you come to the council's main switchboard number, you will be put through to, there's a whole range of potential hardship funds that you may be eligible for. I know sometimes for some people it's difficult to even make that initial move. So, there's a whole range of people that you can go through, whether it's Citizens Advice York, whether it's Older People's Advocacy, or whether you go to one of the local food hubs or community cafes. We're working really hard to join all of that up so that there are people there who know where to pass you on to, whether it's advice about debt or other kinds of things. And then we do have the main COVID hardship funds, and we have the York Financial Assistance Fund, which helps people with basic, who are really struggling for basic things, like whether it's white goods or whether it's actually for food in the short term or with heating bills. And we will connect people up to other kinds of advice like York Community Energy, York Energy Advice, and also the mainstream benefits advisors will also advise what people are eligible for. So I think the main thing is to emphasise, I think it's in the chat, the council website with COVID financial help. A lot of the current advice is there on the website as well, or you can talk to somebody.
Lovely. And Ivana, I'm sorry, Denise, have you finished?
Yes, I was just going to say with the universal credit, the government has come forward with some extra funding, but it's only, it's 2 billion for the taper, but the support was 6 billion. So clearly there's a big gap there still, and people are still going to be struggling with that.
Yes. Ivana, I know that fuel bills is something that really worries people. There's been a lot of fuss in the press about supplies of energy. I wonder if you could tell people who are listening and watching a little bit more about what they can do to get help with that.
So, I mean, obviously, one thing is getting in touch with either us or Citizens Advice. There's lots of other groups as well, and we are trying to work together to make sure that people can access advice on what to do with bills. I think the main thing at the moment is not to panic too much, because right now, actually switching is probably not really worth it and not possible. But the one thing that people can do is actually monitor their usage and sort of keep good records of their meter readings, checking whether they're eligible for any support, such as warm homes discount, being on priority service register. And that's something that either of those organizations can do. And sort of seeing whether there's ways you could save energy, be it from draft proofing or actually applying for support to insulate your home, because that's the long-term, the best advice really. Try and sort of reduce the energy demand of the home, make it as good as possible, so that basically the cheapest energy is what you don't use, but you also need to keep warm and healthy. So there's a variety of things that we can help with, and yeah, please get in touch. Good.
And Kath, it must be a big temptation for some people when they find that ends don't meet to get a loan from somewhere. And there are plenty of people out there that will give them a loan. And I wonder if you can just say a little bit about how that should be approached.
Absolutely. So we are the illegal money lending team. We prosecute people who are loan sharks. And a loan shark is someone who lends money without authorization. So if you want to get a loan, if you need to get a loan, you need to check that that individual, that company is authorized by the Financial Conduct Authority. If they're not, they are a loan shark, they are committing a criminal offence, and you don't have the same rights and protections you would have if you'd borrowed from a legitimate company. So quite often loan sharks won't give you paperwork, so it's very difficult to evidence how much you've paid, how much you agreed to in the first place. They'll charge extortionate interest rates, and they'll often resort to threats, coercive control, manipulation to make sure you carry on paying them. So the big thing for us is if you are looking for a loan, then make sure it's an authorised company, authorised individual that you're borrowing from.
Fiona, what about credit unions? Does Citizens Advice give any advice about credit unions and loans from them?
We can do, yes, and we can advise people where to go. But I think it's important to remember that credit unions still have quite a high rate of interest. So, and I think there's but credit unions have quite a high rate of interest. I think it's a misconception that it's a low interest rate. That isn't the case. So really, if you come to Citizens Advice, we can discuss a whole range of debt options with you and how to manage the debt best, or indeed, in some cases, potentially write the debt off. But we'll also go through income maximisation with you to try and avoid getting into any more debt.
Yeah. Pauline, what particular help is there for families, people with families this winter?
So aside from our normal benefits that are available, we've put aside a number of funds, some funded by the council itself, and there's some small grants available through community workers, such as local area coordinators that we've put in this winter. That's for very small grants at the front line. But also from some of the government funding that we've received, we are going to be delivering something called the Household Support Fund. We've received over £1 million, which we'll be distributing in several ways, subject to approval next week. One of those ways will be an automatic payment to those people who are already known to us, such as those people on council tax support. And there will be a payment in December and a payment in February. Those people will have, in all likelihood, already have received an automatic payment from us under another similar scheme in October. So you'll know who you are, and we will contact you. Equally, we'll be advertising a scheme for anyone that's not already known to us, who can apply for support throughout the winter. And this support is specifically for individuals and families to help them with bills essential bills and also food, but for other things as well, for other exceptional things such as clothing. So if in doubt, please contact us over the winter period. Do not struggle. Of course, additionally to this, there's the COVID-related funding around test and trace payments. So if you have to isolate, the £500 payment still exists and will exist right up until the end of March.
And Pauline, is there any particular help if people have children on free school meals?
Yes, we're pleased to say that the council has continued its funding of free school meals, which started in October last year and throughout the year so far. So payments were made £15 per child per week for those who were on eligible free school meals lists with schools. They were able to get that funding over the October half term. There is a week's funding at Christmas, which sits alongside the food and activities holiday programme, and there is funding for February half term. And our scrutiny committees are reviewing what the future might look like, and we'll make recommendations back to the executive. So for the next couple of school holidays, the funding is there to support families.
Thank you. Denise, some people might want to save a little bit for Christmas, but how can they save when money is so tight? Would you have any advice for them?
Sorry, just getting unmuted there. Well, I think the general advice is that putting a little bit away frequently is one way of going about it if you can. And I know sometimes people can join in with savings clubs, which I think you probably need to be a bit careful about that they're the right ones, but I should think they can help you with that, putting a little bit away if it's one that you can trust. Obviously aware that it can be very difficult for people, but I think that is probably the best way to go about it, is to put a tiny bit away whenever you can and plan ahead.
Yes, thank you. And Fiona, when people come to you and say, I'd really like to start saving, I would guess not for this Christmas, but for next Christmas, what would you say to them that adds to what Denise has said?
Exactly the same, really. So to put a little away regularly, make sure it is in a reputable place. So please don't use the coffee jar in the kitchen or the mattress or any of the places that may be discovered and may end in disaster. Certainly be careful of savings clubs, even the larger ones that may advertise on television. We probably all know the ones I'm thinking about are potentially going to not survive and take your money with them. And then you'd be in the end of a very, very long list of creditors to get your money back. So if you are going to do it, little and often, but with your bank or your building society or a post office account will be our advice from there.
And Kath, if you have a man coming up to you at the school gate and say, well, you can save some money with me, or your friend has, what advice would you give them?
Run a mile. Immediately, do not look back. I think it's really tricky, because we know from our statistics, our research with the victims of loan sharks, that 2 out of 3 people believed at the point at which they took out the loan, the person was their friend. And I can imagine within the formal savings schemes, that's probably even higher. So people believe and trust individuals because they believe they're out for their best interests. But I think when it comes to money, the way to stay protected is to stay within what's regulated, what's governed by the government, and to look at things that have got that protection, that if they did go bump, your savings are protected, or if they do go bump, your loan is there, and it's not going to be just someone turning up and asking for arbitrary amounts of money.
Yes, that's good. And Ivana, if people are getting to the stage where they've got to choose between keeping warm and eating, how can you give them some advice as to how to balance the two things?
Oh gosh, That's really tricky. I think, yeah, sort of seeking help, because there will be some help available if it comes to that sort of stage. Certainly keeping warm is important, I guess, in that case. Trying to avoid using sort of things like electric heaters, because they do cost quite a lot to run. If you do have gas central heating, it's actually better to, you know, just maybe use one room and have the central heating on a, say, 18 degrees as a sort of a healthy kind of minimum, and have it at least on when you are using the room. Yeah, that would be sort of the basic, I guess. Fiona might have something else to add.
Fiona, did you want to add?
Yeah, I think use food banks. You know, come to wherever agency you can to get vouchers for food banks. But if you've got to that stage, don't be shy of using them. They're there to help. I think people find it's a much pleasanter experience than they may believe it to be. And don't be shy. Put your hand up and say, I need help. Don't choose between eating and heating, because we can help you avoid that. If I just backtrack slightly on the loan thing, I think I'd also be very careful to avoid anyone going to guarantor-based loans. So anyone who's thinking about taking a guarantor-based loans out, it can create a lot of problems further down the line, both for the person taking the loan and also the person who is the guarantor. So just to add that into the mix on the loan front, I'm sure Kath would have a view on that as well.
Yes, thank you.
Could I just come in?
Yes, please do. Yes.
On the heating side of things,
yes.
of the equation, I suppose Ivana probably mentioned this initially to some extent, but I suppose if people are worried in that way, the sooner they act to maybe find out what small things and immediate things they could do to save on energy, the better. And that would be by going to talk to Ivana and York Energy Advice, because that's what they're offering at the moment, is to actually help people to look at just the sort of small, easy things. And I think you've got a bit of funding as well, haven't you, for individuals to actually help them to make their homes more energy efficient, where you might actually be able to save on the bills. Is that correct?
Yeah. Thank you, Denise, for the... Yeah, sorry, thank you for the prompt. I should have said yes, for people on low income, we can actually install things like LED lighting, so swap inefficient light bulbs for LEDs, which are 5 times more efficient than the halogens, for example, and some draft proofing measures, so things that help reduce the energy use. So yes, please come to us.
Good. Pauline, can I ask you about the end of furlough and what that effect has had on people in the city?
Certainly, we had 4,000 people prior to the end of furlough on furlough, but clearly some of those people will have found themselves out of work. And needing to claim benefits. So we've obviously supported residents on that front. We've also been keen to ensure that the jobs that are available, and we have got a large number of jobs available in the city of various kinds, that we're looking to support residents and businesses with ensuring that the right skills are available and people can train. So we've been holding job fairs. We're supporting businesses with training support and advice through our grant schemes and voucher schemes to enable them to develop training schemes for staff, etc., so that we can transition people into the jobs that are available, and also help to address long-term unemployment issues. And we're looking to support people with long-term debt support within the council. The council's put some funding in to help people overcome their issues that might have kept them on welfare benefits, to help them back into work as well.
And you put a few comments about council tax support. I wonder if you can just talk us through that a little bit.
So we have a lot of people who don't realise that they can claim support for council tax, and especially those of pension age. And we'd be really keen for everyone to, if they have access to the internet, to use our welfare benefits calculator. If they haven't, to speak to someone in their community that might be able to offer them advice, or come to Citizens Advice York, to enable them to be considered for council tax support. The additional benefit this year of getting council tax support as an additional benefit is that there's an additional £75 available to reduce the little bit of payment that you might have to make towards your council tax that remains, and that's available to everybody. Everybody who's on council tax support will immediately get that extra £75. So definitely worth applying for. And we know that this benefit is being underclaimed in the city. So please do try and have a look.
And that's for people who are struggling to pay their council tax, who will go on council tax support, is it? Yeah,
well, it's anyone on welfare benefits should seek if they can get support. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really important. What about the holiday periods, Pauline? Are there going to be things for children to do in the holidays?
Yes, certainly over the Christmas period, there's the holiday and food activity schemes, and they're taking place at various locations across the city, and some schools are offering those schemes as well. And if children sign up for those schemes, they will be provided with food as well as keeping them busy during the holidays. So really exciting developments across the city.
And where can families find out about that? Do they ask in the school itself?
Yes, they can ask at school, but they can also find out on our website, and we'll have a word with our education team to just double check that we've got that information on Live Well York as well.
Good. I think I'll just do a couple of questions now, if I may. The first one is about booster jabs, which comes into my portfolio, and just to say to people, you'll be called for a booster jab, either by a text or by a letter, and that is when you get it. You can't walk in, unfortunately, because the demand has been so great that they can't cope with everybody arriving at once. So you have to book online. And you can, of course, use IT equipment in our libraries, and that is available to anybody that wants to use it. So from now onwards, keep an eye out. If you had your second jab in May, like I did, then I'm expecting the call at any moment, but don't just go in. And I'll just do the children's aspect of this while I'm at it. Children 12 to 15 years can also book a vaccination, but the same thing applies. There's been such a demand at Askham Bar during half term that you do have to book a slot, and then you can go with your child, if that's what you want, to have their vaccination. And eventually that will get through all our 12 to 15-year-olds. I've got a question now for Ivana, one of our Facebook people. She or he says, they've just been informed by their energy supplier our bill will jump from £94.50 to £190 a month. We are on benefits. It's madness, the person says. We can't survive on thin air. What advice would you give them, Ivana?
I think, yes, unfortunately, all the prices have gone up. So it's making sure that actually the estimate is based on real meter readings. So checking what your usage has been and making sure that actually the company is not just basing that amount on estimate, which is what often happens. So that's one thing. And then you will be eligible, it sounds like you will be eligible for warm homes discount. There will be other grants coming in as well through the household support grants to help with energy bills. So again, so making sure that the bill is actually accurate, that it's based on something real, and sort of seeking help with that.
Thank you. Good. Pauline, you wanted to add something there?
Yeah, I think Ivana was just hinting at that hopefully members will approve next week £20,000 for fuel vouchers that will be accessible through the York Energy, through York Energy Advice and Citizens Advice York. So more information will be issued after Monday, advising residents how to apply for those vouchers.
Yeah, sorry if I leaked it out too early.
That's fine.
It's already in a public report, Ivana, so it's just not decided yet.
Mm. We've got another question about new homeowners. What should they be looking for suitable fuel and heating things? Should they look for storage heaters or gas or electric? What would Ivana's advice be?
Oh gosh, this will very much depend on the type of house it is. Certainly, you know, how well insulated it is or not. If it is on gas network at the moment, that would be the most economic option to have gas central heating. Obviously, long term, we want to get to low carbon heating systems so that the heating doesn't cost the earth as well as our pockets. But yeah, it would depend a bit on what the house is. So again, we're very happy to kind of try and advise on that. But electricity, certainly, if you're on economy 7 meter, then storage heaters might make sense, because then you're charging up overnight, and that's when electricity is cheaper. So it depends a bit on what the house is like, how many people. Yeah, it's kind of needs to be specific. And this is also one of the things that, you know, with home retrofitting, for example, you really need to be looking at the house as a sort of unique system, because it's not just the bricks and walls and roofs, it's also the people living in it. You have to kind of take them into account, their habits and how they use the home. So it's not always as simple as saying, well, just chuck a bit of insulation in there. There's a bit more to it. And if I could just add actually something that might be going through people's minds is, I mentioned draft proofing measures, and people might be thinking, oh, hang on, but with COVID, is that a sensible thing to do? And I would just like to say, yes, draft proofing, it's obviously we need to ventilate our homes a bit more than we have done in the past. We need to make sure that ventilation is good, both for our health and for the houses themselves, because we need to be removing moisture that we generate just through everyday activities. But draft proofing, basically drafts take your heat away 24 hours a day, all the time. The house is leaking heat. So actually plugging those gaps can be really helpful, because then you can choose when you're ventilating and opening the windows, unless you're mixing with people who you're not sure whether they have COVID or not. Ventilating your home 2 or 3 times a day, 10 minutes, open all windows and then close them is much better than leaving it to the drafts and hoping that they will do the job.
Yes, it's quite right. And actually it doesn't do your health any good if you get too cold for too long. Ivana, how do people get in touch with you? Have we got those details?
Yeah, I can share them. We have a website, yorkenergyadvice.org.uk, or we're on Facebook, on Twitter. There's a phone number that I can share as well, or email. So there's various ways.
Good, lovely.
Easiest.
Denise, the council has itself built some houses recently. Have they done some of the things that Ivana has just been talking about?
The houses that we've started building, so some have been completed at Lowfield and people have started moving in. All of those houses are of very high energy efficiency standards, and the ones that will come will also be high energy efficiency standards. So, you know, the people who've moved in already are starting to live through the winter in those, and hopefully should be seeing very low energy bills. But obviously that doesn't really help at the moment if you're in a drafty house at the moment with high bills, but it does start to plan for the future. But it would also be a good time to mention that the council does have some home upgrade grants available for existing houses. And again, this may not help you in the immediate, you know, for this winter, but the programme is going through this winter through to next spring of putting in improved cavity wall insulation, loft insulation, draft proofing, and for rooms in roofs, attic rooms. And that grant is available, and that's on the council website, and I think will be somewhere added into the chat. It's called Hug a Home, and you can still get in touch if you think you would be interested in having that work done. That's a substantial amount of work on your house to improve the energy efficiency, and it is free for home owners, and it can also landlords can apply, but they do have to also make a contribution, but I think it's only a third of the cost. So that's one of the programs that we're trying to build up for existing homes to make them more energy efficient.
Thank you. Pauline, just for the sake of clarity, are all these benefits available to homeowners alone, or are any available to people in rented properties?
In terms of the council welfare benefits,
yes,
they're available to everyone, whatever your circumstances are. These things are generally means tested. It's not related to home ownership.
That's useful to know, because some people might think it is. Yeah. Fiona, I wonder if you could just tell us what the issues are that people are coming to you with at the moment. What is Citizens Advice in particular dealing with? I'm sorry, Denise, did you want to come in there? No? Right, okay. Right, Fiona.
Universal credit is probably top of our list at the moment, with people wanting recalculations of what they should be getting. We're seeing an increased number of people very concerned about the rapid domino effect of the decline of energy companies. Obviously, we're losing on average 3 a week at the moment, and people are then being pushed into other energy suppliers, which can have its own issues, because you can then run up a bill that you weren't expecting because your energy supply has gone pop, and then no one's collecting the money, and then suddenly you find a big energy supplier chasing you for a very large bill within there. So those two things are sort of leading the charge, but we're also seeing a lot of people with employment issues. Employers, even if they haven't mentioned that they're going to let people go now when furlough stops, people are very worried about that, and there is concern and issues about that at the moment, but we can help with any employment issues people may have. And debt, certainly now things are, fingers crossed, slightly returning back to normal. People have run up debt for whatever reason during the pandemic. And now really that needs to be resolved, and people are realising that. So I would say there are top hits for information at the moment.
That's very interesting. Kath, I want to ask you a slightly tricky one, I think. If you have, say, an elderly neighbour and you come to realise that they are being exploited in some way, in giving somebody money or whatever, what should you do about it? If you can't get them to do anything about it, can you as a neighbour do anything about it?
Absolutely. So, for example, if that individual was a loan shark and they borrowed money from them and they were having money extorted as a result of that contact, we would talk to the person, to the neighbour. We might be able to give them some hints and tips as to what to say to the elderly person. or even take the details of the potential lender off them in terms of car registration or any other details they might have to be able to look at it. And I think in terms of the council as well, you know, from a safeguarding point of view, anyone who had concerns about an elderly relative, neighbour, friend, or whatever else, that would be a place to go for specialist support around any kind of financial exploitation or abuse.
Yeah, would they go to the police?
You can do. The police, it's a tricky one because it has to be a criminal offence, obviously, there that's provable. I think in terms of the kind of safeguarding the individual, sometimes the council is a better place to do that. And in terms of illegal lending, then we are the specialist prosecution service for that. So we're a trading standards team rather than the police. But I think if in doubt, the police certainly should signpost you to the right place, as the council and other agencies would as well.
Thank you for that. And one I hadn't thought of is water bills. And I don't know, Pauline, would you know about water bills, if you've got high water bills, or Fiona, or both of you?
We would still consider that under the new household support fund as critical utility bills. So yes, it would fall under the new scheme. So if you're not contacted directly by ourselves for an automatic payment, please look at our website and see if you can fill in an online form. So we will try and help you with that.
Fiona, does that cause people worry, having their water bills? They don't come very often, so maybe it takes them by surprise.
It does, and again, people can run up quite large water bills in quite short order. We would apply for grants from Yorkshire Water, and Yorkshire Water can pay a large amount of that debt off, or they can put you on a payment plan. And if you stick to that payment plan, they substantially reduce the amount of water debt you have. So it's sort of a quid pro quo arrangement that we enter into to help clients with that. If it's a substantial bill and the client has other debts, we could also consider writing off that debt under a debt relief order as well.
Pauline, you say there's information available?
Yes, if you have a look on the Yorkshire Water website, they've got information about the assistance they can provide. But I agree, you talk to the water company, talk to any utility billing company in the first instance. That's your first source of advice before you go anywhere else.
Can I just come in on that?
Yes, please do, Denise.
Just to, I mean, I don't know what other people here think, and Fiona might have a view. Obviously, there's an option if you're not on a water meter of moving to a water meter, and there's probably pros and cons. If you need to use quite a bit of water, that might not be the best thing to do. But if you've moved from a situation maybe where there were more of you in the house and now that there's only one or two of you and you're not actually using very much water, then a water meter could potentially save quite a bit of money, because you'll only pay for what you use. So I think it's worth looking into.
Ivana?
And if I could just add to that, there's also ways to save water without necessarily it impacting on your comfort. So there's aerating shower heads, for example. There's sort of things you can fit to your taps so that, again, they aerate the water, which sort of reduces the amount of water coming out without actually having effect on the sort of effect of the water. So it's worth looking into ways on that. If you're worried about your garden, installing water butts so that you don't have to use mains water, it will be better for the plants as well, because they prefer rainwater to tap water. And yeah, we managed to have our water bill by being moved onto a water meter. So unless you are really kind of high water user, it probably will pay off to do that.
And do you have to pay to have a water meter installed?
No, it's free, and you can change your mind, I think, for up to 2 years afterwards as well. Should it actually work out more expensive, you have the right to have that meter removed again, I believe.
Good. Ivana, I'm going to stick with you. I've got another one for you, and it's about changing energy suppliers. And people are asking, is it worth investigating switching your energy supplier to save money?
I think so. unless someone else thinks otherwise, right now, if you're happy with your supplier, it probably isn't worth switching because of the price gap having gone up. And I think some suppliers even discourage people from trying to switch to them. So it's very difficult, because it used to be that if you could get moved onto a fixed contract, you would be saving money, but unfortunately it's no longer true. So right now it's not the best time to switch. It's still worth looking, because there's various comparison sites. Citizens Advice have a really good one on their website, so it's worth looking, but just sort of moderate your expectations, because it may not necessarily lead to any savings. And certainly if your supplier is quite small and potentially about to go bust, wait until you get switched to the new one before trying to switch yourself, because you want to make sure that if you have a credit with, if you have some money with the supplier, it's guaranteed by Ofgem, it will get moved on to the new supplier. So basically don't panic, sort of wait until you're actually switched and then look into maybe switching away if you really don't want to stay with the chosen supplier that Ofgem allocates to you.
And Fiona, tell us about the Bureau, the Citizens Advice Bureau's Energy Compare, is it called?
It is, yes. It, as Ivana says, it's a comparison site that's embedded into the website, so you can use it. However, it may contain at the moment, because of the rapid churn of energy companies disappearing, it may contain some that don't exist anymore. So you need to be looking for ones that have the switch guarantee. So it's a simple switch, which tend to be the bigger ones. Also important to make sure, and it'll have a tagline on our comparison site that says whether they've signed up for warm home discount. Because if you're eligible for it, you switch away to a company that doesn't offer that, you're immediately going to be £140 down. So it's something to be cautious of at the moment. And to say, with the rapid churn we have, it's probably, as Ivana says, better sticking with an energy supplier you're happy with, unless you really feel you have to change.
Thank you for that. Pauline, you have put in the chat, which some people can't see, about useful websites. Would you like to just talk about that for a moment?
Yes, in York, it's Talk Money Challenge Poverty Month, and we've just put some information on the Facebook site, and that tells you about the moneyhelper.org.uk website, which has lots of hints and tips for people to manage their money. They also have some really good information about talking to friends and family about money, because it can be seen as taboo. Talking about money can really take the stress out of dealing with that situation, and hopefully can help people build up some confidence. Sharing the pain sometimes reduces the impact. So we would encourage people to talk as much as possible.
And Pauline, I'd like to stick with you for a moment. You talked earlier about there being jobs available now. What sort of jobs? Low paid, high paid? How do people find out about them? What advice would you give in that respect?
Well, I'll take the opportunity to promote the council, if I could, at this point. We have a large range of jobs across the council, in a range of jobs. As you know, the council provides all sorts of services, whether they're office jobs, whether they're frontline jobs in care, in waste. We would like to recruit waste drivers. We would like to recruit people into social care, but we've also got roles in ICT, if you're technical, and we've also got roles in business support and in customer services as well. So a huge amount of jobs available for people who might be interested. But we are aware that particularly in hospitality across the city, there are many jobs available for people at the current time. So really no better time for you to get some assistance from the job centre and your local library even to gain some support for applying for roles. There is no better time than now to get a job in York.
And can you go to the library and put your CV together or fill in an application form? Would anybody be there to help you?
Yes, there are people there to assist, and there is free use of computers in every library, and in the city centre. If you're around the city centre, we have Explore York with facilities, and we have the customer centre at West offices with facilities. So there will be always someone to help you do that. Yeah,
that's good to know. Fiona, people sometimes see advertisements for financial advisors, which one can only guess at are probably things that are very expensive. Does Citizens Advice have financial advisors that can look at the whole of somebody's income?
Not currently, no. We can help with debt advice. So anyone who has mild, moderate or severe debt, we can help with financial situations then. We can look at income maximisation, but we would be looking at moving people onto more government-based agencies such as Money Helper for more holistic and in-depth financial advice.
How would they get in touch with Money Helper?
They come to us and we can make an online appointment for them, and then it's a phone appointment after that, or they can go to the Money Helper website and I can pop that up on the screen later.
Oh, that would be really helpful. Thank you. Pauline, you had something to add there.
Yes, just to add to the point around where people can get support for applying for jobs, York Learning have got courses that can assist people with filling CVs on online and digital skills, whatever your level of digital skill, even if you can't switch a machine on at the minute, they can help with that. And just linked to that, if you haven't got the equipment to be able to even apply for a job online, we have got what's called an IT reuse scheme in York, run by the York Community Furniture Store, and they upgrade recycled equipment, and alongside that we have grant funding available to help people get online and get connected with data support as well. So lots out there to help people get back into work.
Lovely, that's really useful. And Kath, can I just ask you, if somebody does get tangled up with a loan shark, or more particularly if somebody loses money through their bank account, through somebody trying to fiddle them of it, is that it? Is the money gone?
Not necessarily. It is very difficult to get back. From the loan shark perspective, unfortunately, we don't tend to be able to get money back from victims because of the bad records kept by the loan sharks. But the best thing from our point of view is when someone reports the loan shark to us and we intervene, that stops. It stops the harassment. It stops them being played for money, and it stops them spending more money, so we can kind of draw a line on it going forward, which is the best thing I think that we can do. But again, it's like Pauline was saying earlier, it's about talking about it, and it's a difficult thing to do because money is taboo, debt is taboo, and loan shark debt is the most taboo debt of all. But you know, we're here with specialist support. We don't judge anybody. We've seen it all before, so it's just about people having that courage to come on board, even if anonymously, and let's have a chat with them about what support we can offer.
People are very embarrassed, aren't they? And probably let it get a bit out of hand before they ask for any help. Is that what you find?
Yeah, so it's a weird one because we normally get asked how long does it, what the impact of COVID has been on illegal lending, and the answer is we don't know yet. We did some research during COVID with previous victims that we'd supported, and it takes an average of nearly 3 years for someone to actually report a loan shark to us. So that's 3 years of misery, of money that's going out of their account they can't afford, of threats, coercive control, whatever else is going on. And it can have a massive impact on mental health as well as on people's finances.
Pauline, you wanted to mention something there.
Yes, from May this year, we've had a new scheme in play, brought in by the government, called Breathing Space, which allows us to build in a period of stop on debts where people are in difficulty. They have to be referred by an authorised debt advisor. So I would recommend people come to Citizens Advice York, for example, to be referred into Breathing Space, and you will be given that time and support through the council looking at your complete debt profile to help you move then through to hopefully resolve those difficulties. It just gives you a little bit more time and puts a brake on recovery processes, and that will happen within the council and with other debtors as well.
Now, we've been talking about challenge poverty and talk money. And before we finish tonight, I'm going to ask each of our contributors to make just one final comment or give one final bit of advice to the people that are listening to us. Can I start with Fiona?
Talk about it, come to us for help. We found £1.3 million worth of unclaimed benefits for York residents last year, so we can help. We also wrote off in excess of £1 million of debt for York residents, so we can make a very big difference, but just come and talk to us.
Pauline?
Can I just mention people approaching retirement? It can be a very worrying time, particularly if your income has gone down. There's information around pension-wise, which is advice for people approaching pension age through the Money Helper website. So again, we'll try and share some information around that. The important thing to stress is not to suffer in silence. Please talk about it. Please ask for help. We have people, a range of people in communities that work for the council and our partners here and other partners who will offer support. So please reach out. Thank you.
Ivana?
I guess I would just say, energy efficiency can not just help the planet, but can improve lives. It really can. Warmer homes that are easier to heat because they are more energy efficient leads to better health, better well-being. So, and I think recently National Housing Federation has discovered that all of England's houses, sort of 25 million homes, actually generate much more carbon emissions than all the cars put together. So actually improving the homes will improve lives as well. So again, come for advice and find ways to save energy, and that way you can save money and improve your health and well-being too.
Kath?
I think mine's very similar. It's Don't Suffer in Silence. So we have a hotline that's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which is 0300 555 2222, which we'll put in the comments, or stoploansharks.co.uk. But it is just that thing of being brave enough to have that first conversation, even if you do it anonymously, and it can set you on the road to a much better life at the end of it.
And Denise?
Yeah, it's difficult not to repeat the same thing, but yes, do talk to someone. I don't think we mentioned help. I may have missed it out with if you're struggling with paying rent, but if you're a council tenant, do speak to the housing department, your housing management officer. There may be some ways in which we can help, and we'll do our best to help with that, and just get the advice that's available somehow. If you're worried about speaking to some organisations, then just talk to someone and they may be able to help you to access that help.
Yeah, your local councillor, Denise.
Yeah, you're your local councillor, certainly.
Yeah. So we're going to put on the Live Well York website a lot of the comments and advice that have been given tonight. And this week, which is the Challenge Poverty Talk Money, well, it's a month actually, not just a week. We hope that all that advice will help people. So to conclude, I'd like to thank our panel for their time and expertise. I'd like to thank everyone that's watched us today and asked questions, and everyone that will share the answers and information that you've had. That's really important. Don't keep it to yourself, tell somebody else. We've posted many of the links mentioned in the comments section, which will be available to view after this session has ended, and we'll monitor the comments section over the next 24 hours. So if you still have further questions about financial wellbeing, please ask them and we'll do our best to answer them. We hope that you've now got some answers to some of the questions you had. And I want to remind you again that if you need help, there's always advice and support available to everyone that needs it. And as all of the panel have said, talk to somebody. That's the important thing. Don't worry away at it on your own, but talk to somebody and find the best person to help. And we hope that this evening has given you some ideas. Thank you very much, everyone, and good night.